What do you think? Because you went to the Iceland game in person. But again, it's the fact that Italy keep getting themselves into this position.
I think they could. I genuinely think City could win the league. I genuinely think they could
The
do
fact
it.
that I didn't feel obligated to watch the game because I knew how it was going to go. Hey guys, welcome back to the TPG podcast after a week hiatus from the international break that neither of us quite like. I think the first thing we're going to probably jump into is kind of the results from the international break and maybe going into the World Cup. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about England because that was a pretty bad loss they incurred.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the possession stats too to start off, but I think the importance of this camp, especially I think for Tuchel, is to get a sense of what I think. Obviously, I think he did it where he had a certain amount of players start the camp, some left, and then I think a lot of the players from the Carabao Cup actually came in near the end. But yeah, I mean, England they should be winning both of these games. I think if I will go solely off who they were playing. Again, Bellingham didn't play, Kane didn't play. But from what I saw, at least just a lack of connection between a lot of the players for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, as I looked at the lineup for the Japan game, I noticed, they didn't have like an out-out striker start the game. They kind of had. I don't know whether they were interchanging. I didn't really watch much of it, but I know Foden, Gordon, Morgan Rogers, and Cole Palmer all played as their out-and-out attackers with Mainu and Elliot Anderson behind them. So that's like an interesting lineup. Like, you don't have a set striker, you don't have Kane there. I understand that like they probably want to experiment and see where these guys can play because they have so many guys kind of behind Kane and the Bellinghams and the Palmers where you're like, okay, should they start? I think one thing we're going to talk about a little bit is the fact that I think both of us believe Rashford should be a bigger part of this team, and that we're shocked that Trent wasn't even featured. I don't really get that.
No, I think my biggest issue with the whole. I mean, I get like you wanted to look at Ben White, but again, he hasn't even really played that much with Arsenal heading into this camp. And then I think he starts both games. Obviously, the first game against Uruguay, he scores. But then in the second game, the second game against Japan, I believe, or no, it wasn't him. Or no, sorry, I was thinking
Ben White started. Yeah,
he started both of those. No, I know Trent not being there is for me crazy, just considering the amount of minutes he was getting at Madrid, and he's been playing well there too. I know I did actually want to highlight. I did watch a bit of the first game. James Garner was actually quite impressive.
Really, that's not a name I figured.
No, I know. I think Tuchel called them like their Valverde or whatever.
Wow, that's pretty heavy. Like I understand. Yeah.
No. Again, it's tough. I don't know. Again, with England, they've always just been. I find it's one of those teams with so much firepower and the level of like superstars that they have, but they don't seem to be able to make it work. Or if you look at like France or Spain with all like, it's almost that's what I believe at least.
So yeah, I think they've always had a lot of firepower. I think it's a weird year, actually. I almost feel like if Tuchel had gotten in maybe earlier, because I've always had a problem with Gareth Southgate. I appreciate that he took them as far as they took them, and they played two finals. Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's.
Did they play two finals
no?
They went to a World Cup semifinal, and then they lost in the final to Italy, where they should have won that one, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's a weird thing to talk about with England, right? Because I think a guy like Trent, and I won't harp on this, but a guy like Trent, even if you don't plan to start him, if you're down 1-0 to Japan in the tournament, as opposed to like in this friendly, and you need to go and try to get something from the game, I don't know how you don't take him. Because just the prospect of having somebody who's sending in that quality of ball into the box to a Kane or like a Bellingham who's going to be running into the box, like I don't necessarily get why you wouldn't take him, even if you don't start him. I'm not even suggesting he should start, because I think Reece James right now is proven to be the better player defensively, and I think the first main thing that you're going to focus on probably is defense when you have that much firepower up top. With that being said, like, you can just play Trent off the bench when you need him as a break the glass when there's an emergency. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take him over like a Ben White? Personally, I don't get that.
His Tuchel's excuses were weird too, because I know they took Spence, Livramento, and Ben White for this camp.
Yeah.
obviously Reece James injury. I mean, that's just been his biggest problem is staying fit, unfortunately. And
Always
I,
is.
I would have to put him up there with probably like yeah, without a doubt the starter. Again, him and Trent. That my thing with Trent and Reece James too. Also, is they can shift in or into that pivot spot almost,
Yeah.
just at the right CDM role. And I think Trent started there actually in the first game of the World Cup, I believe, the last World
I
Cup.
think so.
I
They
think
don't
he
really,
did.
yeah.
But yeah, I know. And again, yes, defensively he may be vulnerable one on one. But if you think about the players they're going to be playing, I feel like no matter what, any fullback is going to be. If you're going against Lamal, if you're going against like, there's just so many guys. Mbappe, like Vinny Jr. It doesn't. And again, he's a professional too. I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, he gets a lot of hate and he may get skinned a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's something more going on there.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like what 36 guys and he's not there. It just seems.
It's a lot.
And also experience solely off of the environment he's in at Real Madrid, top, let's just say top 5 team in the planet, no matter what.
Yeah.
He's been to the Euros, he's been to the World Cup, again played in massive games. He knows what it takes or whatever. So yeah, I think there's something a lot bigger going on there.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
Like England's a weird one for me. England's always a weird one for me because I feel like maybe they had a team I would be more confident in 4 years ago than now. I don't know what makes me think that. I almost think that you kind of know that there's like a 4 or 5 people who are going to start, but then there's a bunch of positions where I feel like people are contending for that we don't know who's going to start there, and will they find the correct balance? Because let's be honest, for the group stage, they don't need it. They don't need it. They need to figure out what they're doing by the round of 32 stage, because this is a different World Cup where they could underperform 1, maybe 2 games and still be completely fine.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I think like Tuchel, I think the kind of feeling I'm getting from it is he's going into it with who's in form and who's playing well. Like he talked about, I know he made some comments about Foden, who's like not played much for City, didn't play. I don't even think he played that much against Liverpool yesterday either.
I
But
don't think he did.
yeah, he's struggling for form, and then he said he came into camp, looked really good, was really good in training, but then again he didn't play that well. But then I also think it's hard to pick just him out because like England didn't play that well in either of the games.
No.
I mean, statistically, looking at both of those games, though, they had the majority of possession, but again, nothing to show for it. And I think that shows where Kane is so good, and then shot creation. I mean, but also like Palmer was playing in that cam role against Japan. He gave away the ball, and I think it wasn't even in like a dangerous area, but they were just, it was a counterattack. And that's where I think England have always been susceptible to conceding, is just some counterattack. So yeah, I still think they have a good chance to go very, very far, but I think Tuchel does need to kind of mix around his pieces a little bit. And I wanted to ask, I think, in my opinion, Rashford has to start left wing. I know it's been a hot conversation at least, but I think for me, he's got to be the starter going into the World Cup.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like with the England guys, I remember when we were growing up, there weren't many England guys out of the country. Like they didn't play outside the Premier League as often. You kind of have like a handful of guys would go, and those handfuls would typically be like the cream of the crop. Like they would go to Real Madrid on big money, like Michael Owen or a David Beckham, or like back in the day, even like a Gary Lineker. Like there was only a handful of guys, but they were usually the best of the best. And nowadays, you feel like there's sort of the middle of the crop guys are all getting their chance. I remember when Chris Smalling started playing for like Roma. You have like Tomori, who's always an option, but I almost feel bad for Tomori because I feel like he could have made any of these teams, but we're probably guilty of just never watching him play. Like I don't watch Milan play. I don't watch the Italian league.
No, I don't watch it.
And then with Rashford, he doesn't start every game, but you can't look away from the fact that he has, at his peak, like star quality, and that at a World Cup he's done it before. So that does matter to a certain extent. Now, if he's playing well enough, I would take him. I don't know if he's playing well enough right now. That's not me saying he isn't. I just don't watch Barcelona all that often, but he is getting game time, and at the highest level he's playing against other people around Europe as well. Like it's one thing to just play the Premier League and be physical. It's a very physical, athletic league. But then you also need the guys who are playing in the tactical leagues, who are better with the ball, There's more tactical shapes. You have to break down a block more often, maybe. And there's different things that you're going to need with this team. And I think Rashford is pretty essential. Whether he starts or not, he should be involved, in my opinion, and probably your opinion too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, he scored yesterday. Or just let it go.
Yeah.
I think what he has done, I will say with Barcelona. I mean, maybe not in the El Clasico, but he has scored in some big games. Like I know one that shows for me or stands out for me the most was the game versus Newcastle Champions League.
For sure.
I know he had two there. But yeah, I think it's just like the combination of. I agree with you on the sense of the Prem just now. Again, we've talked about the pace of it and how physical it is in La Liga. A lot more tactical, skillful, obviously. But I think, again, like you have 3 England players who are playing with 2 best teams in Spain. So I think that's there'll be a good mesh to it. But yeah, I think Tuchel really has to figure out. Again, if you're going on form too, then that's the problem. You got to wait till the end of the season. But I think for the most part, he has an idea. Like Pickford, I think has to start in net. At least for me. Left back, I mean, I think it's got to be Nico O'Reilly or Lewis Hall. It's got to be one of them.
For sure.
But again, I don't know if this is a hot take too, but I think even Nico O'Reilly defensively, similarities, maybe not as like Trent. Like I was trying to compare it to Trent almost just in the 1v1 sense, I think, as well. Like I think they're more like they're attacking fullbacks. They're not really like defense. But that's how the positions evolve, though. Like you need to be able to get forward and make a difference in the final third, and I think that's where the game's changed a lot too.
Yeah, like Nico O'Reilly's just playing out of his mind, and it almost feels like you have to take him. But you're right. Like, I mean, defensively, he's a younger kid. He's not horrible defensively. But I almost feel like because his profile is bigger, like he almost looks bigger than Trent, that the assumption is that he's going to be a better defender. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I've watched enough Nico O'Reilly because he box crashes so often to the left back spot, and a lot of City's games, like they're not having to defend as much as other teams will be having to defend with the amount of possession that they have, and there's not any promises that they're always going down the left wing either. So I don't know. Like, the World Cup is pretty huge for wingers, like really stylized wingers taking on their man. So it would be interesting to see what happens in that regard. I really like Lewis Hall. I don't think they can go wrong with either one because I would probably say Lewis Hall like 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I feel like Nico O'Reilly's had such a great season that I wouldn't mind. Based on form, you got to kind of start and go with form.
Yeah, and again, played in some big games as well. I think the biggest thing with the World Cup and all, obviously it's like those guys, like they want to be at the World Cup, they want to play in the biggest games, but get there and the young guys, you never know. You never know, and I think that's it's going to those big stadiums. You never know how some of them are going to react to, like the Bernabeu, Anfield. Like there's been many times we've talked about you go there and you just feel like it's frightening, right?
And there's a reason why Kobe Mainoo's still featured in these things. Like, not saying he's not a good player, he's a phenomenal player. For Amarim's basically entire stint at United, the kid didn't play. Like, the kid didn't play at all. Clearly Amarim didn't want him there as much as other coaches have. And then he comes back, Carrick comes in, and obviously he starts having this phenomenal form again. But the main reason he's still included in these things is because he performed well as a young kid in the last big tournament. You know, that's the big portion of it. Can the young kids, when you put them in the fire, can they come out and look not nervous? Kind of like how we've seen Dauman play really well as a 16-year-old. I don't think Dauman will go. But it's just sort of you can be good, but then can you be good when you're put in the fire when not everything's going well? When adversity hits the team, will you be able to hold down your spot and then some? And I think that's the reason Mainoo will go. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how what the first starting lineup is.
That's my argument with Foden too. Yes, he may have a bit of a dip this year for sure, but again, he was PFA Player of the Year 2 years ago. So I think it's like Rashford too. He had that one season with Eric Ten Hag, scored I think 18 goals in the Prem, got his big contract next year. It was like 2 goals, like and nothing.
He's so I think so up and down.
And Tuchel's just got to figure out again what's going to work and all of that. But I'm with you on I would say there's 4 or 5 positions that are probably locked, and the rest it's wide open right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when we do that podcast. Trying to guess who he's gonna pick prior to that'll be interesting. Um,
Yeah, I
but I
don't
think
know.
we should probably move on to a bit of Canada.
Yep.
Um, just their World Cup preparation, what we think about them going in. Um, I'm guilty of not watching either game. I personally I hate watching friendlies, but I get why it's such a big thing going into the World Cup, looking at like who's going to play these games because we're not in England, right? So we're going to try to find the strongest 11 and see who's going to help us out the most. It's nice that Davies is back from injury because we had a fear there for a little bit that he was done so. But what do you think? Because you went to the Iceland game in person.
Yeah, no, I think it's easy for fans to react, and again, like it's we're still like feeling it out and all of that stuff. I would say it was an average camp. Um, could have gone way worse. I think my biggest takeaway from what I saw, at least, I think Jesse Marsh has to find an alternative when the main formation isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like a 4-4-2, but almost like a 4-2, like four. It was weird. But the Iceland game, like the first half, was just there was no urgency. Obviously, like I feel bad for Kamal Miller. Like he made a mistake, you know what? But also at the same time, like that's what friendlies are for. He was trying to
Mm-hmm.
play out rather that than just kicking it full away. But both goals were individual mistakes, and I think yeah, it's tough. It is tough, and going into the World Cup, I would say I have to agree with you that we need like our bigger players to really start playing outside of their clubs. That would be my biggest thing.
Yeah, it's not enough that we just kind of find the diamonds in the rough, and then we as cohesive as we can be. You need like match winners, and we'll go through the group kind of not in detail. We'll go in detail later, but they don't need. How should I put this? Like they need Davies, they need David, they need who's the guy you
Bombito.
said Flores. They need Kone to have a great tournament. They need like these four guys to all be as good as they can be because
Yeah,
realistically they're the third most skillful team coming out of CONMEBOL. Like the U.S. have more talent, Mexico has more talent. We need to have the big guys show up for us to have any chance. And luckily for us, we have probably the easiest World Cup group out of anyone at the tournament.
yeah, for
Probably.
sure.
We'll look through it, but like I think we have the easiest World Cup group. So the key thing is can all our biggest guys be healthy and can we beat the bad teams? Can we beat the bad teams? Because our best performance in the last World Cup was the first half against Belgium, where we actually played up a level. But we are also guilty of being able to play down a level, which is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the biggest thing Marsh was looking for in this camp was certain positions. I think it's kind of similar to England. Like I think we have five positions that are pretty much locked down. Like Davies has to start left back.
Yeah,
I think we need Bombito for sure in the back, but obviously he's coming off a big injury. Kone for sure.
yeah,
He's got to be there. Um, David, yeah, he's got to start.
David's got to start.
Laren, I'm iffy on. Again, kind of you can go back to the experience piece as well, but then like I wanted to talk about like the Iceland game first half. I know we had yeah, it was Saliba and Chouanier, but I found if you the Tunisia game at least yeah, Saliba and Kone worked a lot better. Like,
Mhm.
worked a lot better. Kone was on the ball more, switching it and all of that. But yeah, I don't. There's a lot of moving pieces that I think needs to happen going into the World Cup for sure.
Yeah, and if they can get the mix good enough right away, and the thing you said about having a second kind of option is like Canada. When I'm doing my World Cup preview, I'm looking at kind of the formations that they use. I like Jesse Marsh. They don't seem to use anything other than a 4-4-2 or a variation of the same 4-4-2, which is just going to 4-2-4 when you're down and kind of throwing the kitchen sink at it, which is fine if you're playing teams of Tunisia and Iceland's stature. But you're going into the World Cup, like let's be realistic here. Like we need 4 points. We need
Yeah,
4 points from the group, and our first two games are Bosnia and Qatar. We need the 4 points from those two games because if we go into the Switzerland game needing a point or needing a win, that's a lot. It's probably a lot to ask, and we could probably go through with 3 points too if we're lucky. If we maybe tie all three games, but you don't want to You don't want to bank on that. And as open as it can be in the groups, like, if we don't take advantage of Bosnia and Qatar, or at least one of those games, and really make a statement that we are for real and can play at this tournament, I don't know. Like this is the time. We will never have an easier group than this one. It was looking pretty dire since we got announced that Italy's pathway was going to get through here, but Italy did not make it. This is the best chance we're going to have, and my hope is that they gel and come together and the big guys can all play at a high level.
Yeah. And I think my biggest worry, I would say, was no open goals from open play. 2 penalties. I think that's a big concern. But also, like, I think it shows how, like, dangerous of a threat Davies is going to need to be on the left side. And I also think, like, Larea played great. I thought he was probably, like, consistent both games. And I think he has chance with, like, starting for sure. But if you look at Alistair Johnson, too, he's coming back from injury as well. So I think that, again, that's another big player coming back from injury who just hasn't been playing, who hasn't been playing, right? And I think that's the sticky part of this whole group, exactly. I think, but the biggest thing for sure that I took out of it was our center backs. Like, I think you need Cornelius and Bambito have to play, I think. And that's nothing against, like, Waterman and Miller. I just think they're a bit shakier on the ball. And I think Marsh is trying to get us to play a little bit. And that's where I found, like, Flores from TV really stood out. Is like, he wanted the ball. He was out wide. Just, like, quick. You could see, like, how he's been playing in I think that's a difference between MLS and Liga MX or whatever. It's just, like, a lot more the tactical sense of it. And then again, but, like, coming on, I thought Liam Miller, he played well. He had a great block.
I saw that on socials all over the place.
Yeah, it was a great block. Yeah, and I think the passion and the work ethic, you need that. That's huge. But no, it's going to be interesting. But I'm with you. I think Bosnia is going to be a tough game. But that's going to be one that we really, really have to win as well.
It's a sticky one, right? Like
if we were to get 6 points from that, like the other,
they're not easy to score goals against, right? And that's what they have to bank on, is the fact that they are going to be defensive, and then they could go down the other end, and there could be a set piece where Dzeko gets on the end of it. Like, for a guy who's 40, I mean, what a phenomenal career for him to get to a second World Cup with Bosnia and Herzegovina. Like, it's phenomenal that they even got here, getting past. I don't know if they were even favorites to get past Wales, personally. It was probably closer, but I don't think they were a favorite. And then to get past Italy for the third time, I mean, it's something for them, right? Like, now they have to go and play in Canada, and there's probably lots of Bosnians who are going to go to that game. Like, it's not just going to be... Canada's such a multicultural country. Like, there's much more likely going to be a lot of Bosnian fans than there is, like, Qatar fans in the game the next over. So, yeah, that first game is going to be crucial. The key thing is they can't lose it, get something out of it, and then get 3 points out of Qatar. That's the big one. Because I don't know what strides they've made out of Qatar, but you need to. They're the weakest team in the group, in my opinion. They're the weakest team in the group.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't. Yeah, Bosnia. Honestly, I would take a draw even. I think Switzerland for sure are the favorites in the group. Like, great squad, but yeah.
I think they can cakewalk it.
I wanted to just touch quickly on the goalkeeping situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think obviously Sinclair now is in Miami, so he's in that great environment. I mean, that was like Kamal Miller as well, who was there too. You can even say the same about Chouanier, who's in LA now. And I think Sinclair's had a bit of a tough start to the season. I know, obviously, I think he had the mistake because LA beat Miami, I think 3-0 in the opener. I don't blame Sinclair for either of the goals though. First Iceland, Miller put, I forget the striker's name, on a breakaway, and then the second one, it was pretty much, individual mistake. It was like a weird bounce or whatever, and then it was placed into it. And then you have Crepeau, obviously shut out. He had a couple good saves, but I don't know. It's hard. It's tough, and I would say right now, either one doesn't really stand out versus the other, in my opinion. I think Marsh has got a big decision with that.
Yeah, it's a big decision. Your goalkeeper going into a tournament is massive, and it may even come down to something as simple as, like, who's better on penalties. Genuinely, just with, like, how stressful it can get down the stretch and how important penalties can be in a tournament setting. Because if they're not too differentiable, like, it's tough to pick. I will say I'm fine with either one because I think they're both better than Borjan. because I think Borjan was I don't know, like Borjan probably had a lot of good. I think he did have a lot of good performances heading into like the World Cup qualifying for us to qualify first out of that group, and then make it to the 2022 World Cup. But once he got there, you can definitely tell he's a little bit older. He's not moving as quick, and he has a little bit of the Bozo gene. Like the goal against Morocco was just completely unneeded, where he kind of ventures out a goal on a little adventure and plays it to the Morocco guy, and he just chips him. So I think both guys are a better pick. I mean, I've never had this much optimism going into a World Cup, which Canada's in, given I've had two to choose from. But what I'm banking on for Canada specifically is the feeling I got. There were two distinct feelings I got from last World Cup. And that was the first 45 minutes versus Belgium, where we actually outplayed Belgium, got a penalty, didn't convert it. Belgium then kind of took it from there in the second half when we ran out of gas.
We should have won that game.
And Batshuayi, we should have either won or gotten a draw out of that game. I thought we played phenomenal, and it gave me so much confidence going forward. And then with the Croatia game, it was that first minute goal. I mean, that's the moment for most Canadians where like we thought, wow, like it's cool for us to do it on this stage finally. Like it's about damn time. And then obviously past that goal, it really unraveled that game, and we saw what kind of quality is at the World Cup with a team like Croatia, who's not even like. They're really close to that gold standard, but they're not, we put them as a dark horse every tournament. They're not one of the favorites. So if we get past that group stage, the key thing is what will our luck be with the draw? Because it's not the same as it usually is, where it's like first from Group A, we'll play second from Group B, and then you kind of allot it. It's really helter-skelter with the third place teams going in. So how will our luck be? And can we play against the bigger teams in a knockout format? Can we upset them? We played really well at the Copa America. That gives me a little bit of hope too.
No, for sure. And I think that was my issue with Herdman. There's and I think that's where Marsh really is going to need to get it right, is the tactical adjustments, because I found Herdman made nothing. Like Croatia, after we scored the goal, it just went downhill. Like they just started, everything, like you were saying, everything just started to unravel, and there was no tactical adjustments. Obviously he made subs, but it wasn't like any swapping or whatever.
Yes. It was a lot of like for like. Like he wouldn't make adjustments, and bless his heart, like he guided us to our first World Cup in my lifetime. But and he did great with the women's team too. But you hardly ever see the women's coach come over to the men's coach, and it works out brilliantly. Just because it's two different games, I would say the same thing for men's to women's as well. But it's just you hardly see it.
What I actually just realized that Eustachio wasn't here either.
He was injured. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was injured too.
Again, that's another big one. Like. Yeah, if you think about it, because we have Buchanan has to start. I think Buchanan has to start. David has to start. Davies, Ambito, Cornelius, Johnston's. Yeah, there's like 7 or 8 guys I would say you pretty much got to start, like off the rip. But then how many? three or four of them are dealing with it, like just coming back from injuries, right? But it could also be a blessing in disguise, because the amount of games these guys are playing now. You come back in, we're kind of in the last stretch now going into the season, so you can get your fitness up, I would say, a month. So if all these guys can get back into it, I think I'm with you in the sense we can really get going. And I am very optimistic, and I am excited. And being inside the stadium, I will say, it looks great once you're in there. Almost you feel like really compact in. That was like the biggest thing, is like there's actually not a lot of spots you can kind of see out of once you're in. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think everyone should be excited, and even the Tunisia game, yes, it was 0-0, but we played really, really well.
Tunisia is a good team too. There's nothing to knock on. Like they beat France at the last World Cup, so it's not exactly like they're the pushovers. Like I think they're probably one of 2 stronger teams coming out of Africa right now, with both Morocco and them. So they're going to be a tough team. And who'd they get in the group? I'm trying to look actually. Tunisia have my. They have a tough. It would be my favorite group to watch going in. Yeah. Would be the Group F with the Dutch, Japanese, and Swedish.
Just no red cards for us. That's just the biggest thing, because I know
3 red cards in however so many games. It's crazy
in a row. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was extremely harsh on Buchanan. It was kind of like the guy was kind of gripping him, and it was kind of like it was one of those almost. It wasn't like a full blown. It was
a reactionary thing.
Yeah, it should have been a yellow card. I think it was just like from where I was sitting, I didn't even see it. I was like, oh, it just went out of bounds, and the guy was on the ground. I'm like, okay, he probably just get. And then they show it, and it's like, okay, like again, that's where it's going to be interesting to see at the World Cup how much VAR and all of that, and just. But again, they're already. I could rant about the World Cup just like with the water breaks killing the flow of the game. I think
Yeah.
that's gonna be different. I know France and Brazil they did that, like they had their 3 minute water break or whatever during their the friendly game that I watched. I don't actually know if Canada did it. I don't think they did. Maybe.
I'm not sure. It's not warm enough to even warrant it.
Oh,
So,
it was freezing.
it's
It was
not warm enough to
freezing.
warrant it at all. So that makes a lot of sense if we did do it, honestly.
But
Did you want to touch on a little bit of about the stadium? Because I was in Toronto on Friday, so I got to see the scaffolding that went up to get the minimum seats up for a World Cup stadium. But I gotta be honest, like as much as I don't mind the stadium, like in terms of a World Cup quality stadium, it's not really there.
no, again, when you're inside, it looks great. When it's full, I think it's going to look really, really good. But again, like if you
Hmm.
look from the outside, it looks like just a construction project that has just started. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if this is like a weird analogy, but I compare it kind of to the Great Cup in Hamilton because they kind of did the same thing with the stands at the back of it just to like add in more people or whatever. Nowhere near
Yeah.
the same amount. Um, but yeah, from an outside view. But even again, just like once you're inside the concourse or whatever, I think it's just going to be rammed because you're just going to have even all the people from like that those extra parts just going down into it.
I know.
Um,
Yeah, it's an awkward one. Like I think they should have just gone with the permanent seating if they had started earlier enough. Now, clearly, there's some reason why they've done the temporary seating as opposed to injecting 10,000, 15,000 more seats in there. But it doesn't look great from the outside. And
no,
I was glad to hear it looked good from the inside. Because it is kind of sheltered off, and then it kind of blocks your view of the field where you'd actually normally see it on the highway or the train. Um, but it's too bad because I really do. I want this World Cup to be good, and for a plethora of reasons, it's been annoying to see all the distraction because of it, like whether who's going to replace Iran and different sort of reasons that are completely out of our control. But I also just hoped that they would have proper proactivity going into it with the stadiums and making it look good. And I don't think they've done the best thing to do that. It doesn't look that great to me,
no,
personally.
it's underwhelming again, and like my worry too is the pitch condition as well. Yeah, like I think it looked fine from where I was or whatever, but I know a lot of the players have said that's what a worry going into it is. And again, like I don't know, like TFC weren't filling up BMO even before they put in the.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since TFC's really gotten a full stadium, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think when you're inside and everyone's in there, I think that's going to be. It'll look great, but yeah, from the outside, not ideal.
That's good at least, and it does. I really don't mind TFC Stadium, but if we're talking about like World Cup quality, you see some of the stadiums they put up in other countries, and it's just they look gorgeous. Even like the brand spanking new ones they'll put up, and
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah,
Toronto doesn't have like a
they don't.
soccer fully or just designated stadium. I'd say.
And you're
I
not
don't
going
know.
to do it in another city.
What's the other one? Rogers Stadium, where they're doing all those concerts now. I don't know how.
Where the
Not the
Blue Jays
Rogers
play.
Center. Yeah, not where the Jays play. The other one. You know, they've done a bunch of concerts there. Coldplay did like the first one there.
Oh, I
There's
have no
Rogers
idea.
Center, and then there's like Rogers Stadium. They kind of did it near Downsview Park.
Oh, yeah, I'm
So
not too sure
I
about
don't know
that,
how
but
many people it can host there, but I was like curious. I'm surprised they could have done it there. The only problem, I don't think the reason they did that there is just the what do you call it? The public transit is not very good. So I think I think
yeah.
the train was the biggest thing, and again BMO's already there. But I don't know. We'll see for that opening group stage match how it looks. I know all the ticket prices have dropped now too with Italy.
Yeah,
On.
I'm trying to get my tickets off a disgruntled Italian. That's what I'm gonna say right now.
Did you try I tried doing like accessing like the last minute tickets on the FIFA website and I got like the circle of death. Just never loaded.
I'm not trusting FIFA with that. I'm just trying to get something resell because I know for a fact there's a lot of Italians who bought early. So, I mean, I'm gonna try to get a
That whole
resale one.
jersey. Did you see the jersey swap thing?
You can swap your Italian jersey for a Canadian one. Yeah, I saw
They
that.
only did 100, and then they started giving out posters instead.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
That's funny. That's in a good spirit at least. The Italians are probably so pissed off about the whole thing. Why don't we
jump right into it.
cycle into that, and maybe we can get to the World Cup groups another time because we're still in April. But Italy, I mean, for the third World Cup in a row. I mean, after 2006, it's and let me talk about this real quick. Like, I don't. You're a couple of years younger than me. So, was 2006 the first World Cup that you can commit to memory, or was it more South Africa?
No, I would say that one. I remember watching it, the penalty shootout. I remember it's my coach at the time. He always made us watch like everything. Like when I was young or whatever. So I remember he said, "You guys need to watch the World Cup, watch the games, watch like the movement and all that." I mean, I'm a kid. I'm not really paying attention, but I remember watching it or whatever. And I remember Buffon or Pirlo just running with his hands up like that.
I know, like that. Yeah.
But no, yeah, that I would say, yeah, what a downfall, disappointment. I want to get your opinion on this, but I do think if the red card doesn't happen, I don't think Bosnia wins that game. If you ask me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it was probably pretty boneheaded from Bastoni. But again, it's the fact that Italy keep getting themselves into this position, and I saw a lot of tweets saying how like there's certain teams in this World Cup and you're not going to have Italy. Like if you're going to have like Iraq and Curacao and not going to have Italy, then you've lost your like sporting merit. Europe is probably one of the easiest places to qualify out of if you're one of the big boys. If you're one of the big boys and not a mid-table European side, it is one of the easiest places to qualify from. Spain will get one mid-table, and then they'll get Liechtenstein, Slovakia, and I don't know, Malta, and they'll just walk over those teams, and they'll breeze into the next round. All the big boys have no issues in Europe. Italy have not qualified for a third straight World Cup as one of the big boys. It's their fault that they've fallen from this perch, and it's after seeing what 2006 was like. Now, given 2006, they relied on very Italian traits. Like they were compact, they were great at defending, tactically they were stout, and they beat some teams that maybe they shouldn't have. But they were World Cup champions.
Yeah.
Since that point, since that last penalty was kicked, they have not played in a World Cup knockout game. Since 2006. That will mean that for 24 years, they will never play a World Cup knockout game. Because they never made the World Cup groups. They got knocked out in the 2010 group stages in South Africa. Then they got knocked out. The last time they won a World Cup game was England, I believe, in 2014, when Balotelli scored. Because then they lost to Uruguay and they lost to, I think it was Costa Rica. They either tied or lost to Costa Rica. So they haven't won a World Cup knockout game since the final in 2006. It's like unprecedented. You can't even. So I don't agree with the fact that if Italy's not there, that the sporting merit of it's gone. Like this is the third straight time.
And they won the Euros. And
they won the Euros. Yeah.
And they dominated the Euros. Like I know that obviously
they were good.
Penalty shoot. Because what was that? Was that 2020? No.
Yes. It was 2021 because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
But branded 2020.
Again, I don't know if I was reading there's like a chance they still may go or something. I swear I read somewhere.
There's a chance.
I'm with you on that. I think a big thing too is a lack of leadership almost, because I know you have Chiellini, Bonucci, like a lot of those like big guys, like big personalities in the dressing room. And again, I can't speak to a lot of the Italian players right now. I'll admit to that. But yeah, I just think we're going off the merit and all of that. Like they should be going to the World Cup. There's not really an excuse, and I know they're cleaning house now with the coach. You know, Buffon's out as well. The Italian fans have all like. They have the right to be pissed. I'd be pissed too. And if you look at some of the teams that have qualified as well, there's no excuse. And yes, like I think red card in the 41st minute, that's just like you gotta caliber, like a game of that caliber, you have to be a way more level-headed.
Way more level-headed. It's a big game. You're up by one. You can't do that. You can't put your team in that situation. And you know what? I'll give it to Italy. They were unlucky to group Norway. That's unlucky because they have performed over the last 20 years like a very mid-table European side, but we both know like how much quality Norway has, and they finally came into their own, and they were thrashing some of the bad teams in the group. And it's huge when you're thrashing teams in the group because your goal difference is so high, whereas Italy couldn't kill these teams. They could beat them by 2 or 3, maybe even just by the odd goal. But here's the thing, Norway beat them home and away. And then when Italy was faced with the playoffs, they had to face, I think it was North Macedonia and Bosnia. So, and then Bosnia is ranked like somewhere in the 70s for world rankings.
Yeah.
Like they had no excuse to not be at this World Cup for a third straight time. So, I mean, if I'm, like you said, like if I'm an Italian fan, I'm livid at the fact that this is a third straight World Cup. And in the middle of it, it's so strange that we can say that they won the Euros. But how did they not make it? How did they not make it? It's just, it's bizarre. And the talent pool is dwindling in terms of a big national team. It's dwindling. They're really down to the sort of the dark horse even below that. Because if you don't make 3 straight World Cups, I mean, what are we doing here?
There's no excuses. Yeah, again, I'm looking at their lineup right now, like the ones that like Calafiori with Arsenal that I noticed. Mancini, it sounds familiar. Donnarumma, obviously with Man City, and then you have Moise Kean, who Juventus. I think he's with Fiorentina now. I don't know, but again,
Decent enough player.
Like I don't mean to be disrespectful. I haven't watched a lot of the Italian players at all.
Me neither.
So, but yeah, I don't. You have Dzeko on Bosnia though. Like, he's got it. That's just.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. What an amazing story for Bosnia to actually get through, genuinely. And one thing I actually wanted to mention, because I don't think we don't need to harp on Italy too much. Actually, the one thing I was going to say is you brought up how Italy could go. That was kind of links into what I was saying about Iran. Because if Iran doesn't go, like they may just have to hand it to the highest ranked team who didn't make it. That would be Italy. So they could get lucky, and we as Canadian fans could get lucky as a result. Because I much prefer getting Bosnia and then Italy having to go where Iran was.
Where was Iran, or is it still there? I'm just trying to see where it would be.
Let me look at where Iran was. Iran's in Group G.
So they would have Belgium, Egypt. It would be Belgium, Egypt, Italy, and New Zealand.
Yeah, and that group would still meet guidelines. Like you can't have 3 European sides in a group, so it would still meet guidelines because then you'd have New Zealand and Egypt in there. And I feel like Egypt would feel so hard done by.
That would work then, no? Because you could have two. You can have 2 from Europe.
No, it would work. Yeah, because there's 2 European sides. Because you're replacing. Yeah, because Belgium's the only European side in there, so it would work, and it's very plausible. Whether it's fair or not is another question. But if Iran's not going, you probably would just go for the highest ranked side left, and that would be Italy. So, and I think the next team down for you could also have the next Asian qualifier in there, but I think since FIFA does not have they have quite a strong opinion towards money, I think Italy would take Iran's spot for that personally.
No.
And Denmark, man, and I want to touch on Denmark because no one's talking about them, but for Denmark to not make it, given what their situation was, it's just shocking as well.
Yeah, it's
like they've been good. That same Euros Italy won, Denmark got to the semifinal, right?
Yeah, I know the Czech and losing to the Czech too in penalties. They scoring 1 penalty too is just.
And like you can lose a one-off game, but going back to their group stages, if they had just beaten Belarus in the penultimate game at home, they're in the World Cup. So I mean that's probably more shocking to me than Italy, because I think Norway is actually a really good team. So for Norway to get into that first spot makes sense to me. I think Scotland's a decent side. I think they have a lot of hard workers. I think Scott McTominay's rise to being the messiah of Naples is hilarious.
not Andy Robertson.
No, he's too old. But like McTominay, like he moves to Naples, he becomes their best player. He starts dressing like.
You win Serie A MVP. It's just that United curse. They all leave and they're better. Again, like it's the Premier League where they're leaving from. But
yeah.
And
It's
he
just
was
amazing.
with Conte too, so I was surprised. You never know how players are going into an environment with like Conte or whatever, because he seems like he's one of those coaches where they got favorites, but yeah,
I
it
like Conte
worked.
a lot. I don't know
Yeah,
if I'd like him to manage Liverpool, but I just think he's so much fun. I like a fun character, and he's a fun character. I don't think he plays necessarily the most attacking style, but he's also the only manager in the Premier League kind of open era that has won with a back five. Who's won a Premier League with a back five? They got like 92, 93 points, and they had
yeah.
like Victor Moses out on one side.
That's what I was gonna
Like it
say.
wasn't a good team. So I like him. I think he's a fun manager.
That was year they had Cesc Fabregas, was it not?
They would have, yeah, they had. I know I'm being a little harsh on that. They were a good team. I just think it's
No,
funny
no,
that
no, no.
Victor Moses.
I agree with you on that. The three
Yeah,
five two is just crazy. I was trying to remember because it was like I'm trying to remember. I don't get Matic. I remember was there.
Matic. They had like Mark. I think it was Marcus Alonso and
Yes.
Victor Moses on either side.
Yeah.
I liked Marcus Alonso too. I think he's a good player. But again, those guys weren't defensive, so you
Diego
can kind of have them
Costa.
bombing down the wings. Diego Costa.
Hazard.
Was Schürrle wasn't there.
Yeah, because remember that Fabregas had that pass against West Ham where it
I
was
know.
like in the air and it was like a one-touch chip over, and then
That was a fun team. That was genuinely a fun team. I don't like
great
Chelsea,
season
but
that was. That was a great season. I remember that.
that was because I think Tottenham finished second, and they were damn good too. Was that the season following Leicester, or
Yeah,
before
it was
Leicester?
following or it was before.
I forget which one. It may have been following
Yeah, I don't know.
because I felt like that was the end of Tottenham really contesting the
So they
league.
won 2016.
Yeah, I think Leicester would have been 2015. Shit, that was more than 10 years ago. Fuck.
2015, yeah. So it was the following season.
Yeah.
Because Danny Drinkwater was there.
Good old Danny Drinkwater.
Yeah, because Danny Drinkwater and Conte went to Chelsea after Leicester won.
Yes. Okay, so it was the year following. That
Yeah,
makes
because
sense.
Conte won it back to back. Remember, he won it with Leicester, and then he won it with Chelsea the following season.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, N'Golo. When you said
Yeah,
Conte, I was like, he was a manager.
No, sorry,
that makes
N'Golo
sense.
Conte. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That Leicester team just blew up pretty much after that.
Well, you
got
lose Conte.
surprised.
He was such an engine guy, so it was like, what were they going to do?
He may be. I think he's going to the World Cup too. So
That'd be fun. I love Conte. Just a
Yeah,
little
he
likable dude.
he left. Because I know he's in Turkey now. I think
Who's he playing for in Turkey?
for Fenerbahce.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he left Saudi. Yeah.
Turkey's like the next play. Like Turkey, they pay well in Turkey, so a lot of these guys love going. Like Osimhen and those guys. It's not a bad place for them to go.
They could be English teams. You would
Yes,
know.
they could. They could be. They could even beat them twice. Who knows? Who knows? That's a good segue. Why don't we talk about Liverpool?
I'm gonna let you go. I didn't even watch the game yesterday. I just woke up and saw Holland 3 goals, and I was like, well, he's probably gonna have a lot to say. And then you just said didn't even watch the game, and then
No, I think the biggest part of what I'm going to say about Liverpool is the fact that I didn't feel obligated to watch the game because I knew how it was going to go. For the better part of a decade, probably a decade plus, I would get up at all hours of the day. I would watch every single game. I would consume everything from Liverpool. And even if we were bad, I'd still watch because we weren't kind of built on that platform of success. So I always had that, wanting to watch to see if we could get better. Then when we got better, I would watch every waking minute if I could. I mean, I have friends of family who got married in 2022, and it was on the day of Real Madrid-Liverpool, and I told my parents, I'm going to watch the Real Madrid-Liverpool game. And they're like, you're going to find a TV there. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going. And I didn't go. Like, my fandom of actually watching Liverpool throughout these years has been one of, I'm going to watch every game I possibly can. And for me to not even, I saw the game in the start time. I didn't set my alarm. I woke up around the 75th minute, saw the score, went back to bed. And that's what this team's gotten me to. I don't have any passion for it. I don't want to keep seeing it. And as I've said, since late November, he should have been gone. If we had any chance of resolving the season and getting something from it, maybe going for the FA Cup or the Champions League, he should have been gone by now. This is I thought this in November. I know people who thought this in October. And I know plenty of people who thought that this all spawned after the Carabao Cup against Newcastle. Now, when he's on his way to winning the league, you're not going to want him out. You're going to want to see what his play style is. But if we go back to 2024, 2025, if you look at all the available data about how we won that league, if you look at our talisman, Salah, who had 29 goals, 18 assists, he created 88 chances. He was, like, no one's ever scored that amount of goals and that amount of assists combined in a Premier League season. He was 32, right? There were 3 away games where he had a goal and assist where we didn't win the game, okay? And a lot of times, and I've mentioned this on the past podcast, a lot of times when a legendary coach leaves or a coach who's been there for a long amount of time leaves, that culture remains for that next season. And you could still see the hallmarks of a Klopp team, of Klopp standards, and that sort of never say die attitude, even when we're not winning or we're still tied and we really want the 3 points. We would gun for it and go for it. We still had the fitness, we still had everything, but we just had a guy with different tactical changes to those games. And given Slot, at a lot of points last season, instituted these cool little things mid-game where we thought, oh, this guy's he's smart, and he's a little bit more ruthless than Klopp would be. If someone's not playing, he'll switch him out. But if you look at what Salah did last season and the amount that he over-contributed to the team, and then this season where he's not performing, and we actually get to see what Slot's going to do with a war chest, new players, more than enough talent to either win the league or comfortably finish top 4 and go for other trophies, this isn't good enough. It's not even close. In late November, when I thought he should have been gone, we lost to Nottingham Forest at home 3-0. 3-0 against Sean Dyche, 3-0. And then we followed it up, we washed it down by losing to PSV 4-1 at Anfield. PSV is not a team who made it to the Champions League playoff round, and Nottingham Forest is battling relegation. And ever since then, I've watched us slowly. It's like, you ever see when someone's running and they're about to fall, but they keep saving themselves from falling? And by the time they fall, you think, man, they should have just fell at the first hurdle because it would have looked less. It would have looked less silly. You know what I'm trying to say?
Like they would have gotten like it's almost like when guys kind of get fouled in the box, and then like they don't fall, and they fall too late or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, so you're watching someone go down in stages where if they just fell at the first hurdle, we would have been able to pick ourselves back up. But we are still falling. And this is not the lowest we can go to by any stretch of the imagination. So it's
I agree with you, but I think it's past the stage now of like there's no point in letting him go now. I think, in my opinion, you just got to let the season play out now, I think. Obviously, I can't speak to how all the Liverpool fans, but I know you. I think definitely they should consider letting him go once it's done. And then you have the summer to kind of figure out, okay, what are we doing? And then, but I'm with you in the sense of like if you kind of let him go, let's just say a few months ago or whatever, you get a new coach in, okay, let's try and survive the season, but then they can implement the new tactics, what they want, what they're looking for, something different. And then you go at it next year. But now, obviously, Mo Salah's leaving as well. I think that's another. It's been a tough few weeks for you guys.
It's been a tough few weeks, but yeah,
I don't think he's gone. I think he stays for the rest of the season, unless you lose the next 3 or 4 games in a row. Then okay, maybe we'll pull the plug now. But at that point, it's like you're just saying, why didn't we just do this before?
And I'm not Nostradamus for all this stuff. I remember telling you back in like late November, early December, kind of when the new year was kicking in, that you thought we would, just on an outside view of what we have, you thought top 4 would be easy, and then you can take a run at the other trophies. I said pretty early on, I think we're going to struggle to finish top 4. I think you could bet against us finishing top 4. Where we are now, like, it is very conceivable that we miss out on top 4. Very, very conceivable. If not more likely than ever that we miss out on it. We're out of the FA Cup in hostile fashion, where our fans are chatting about they're doing Xabi Alonso chants, and when you lose the Liverpool traveling support, you lose the fan base. And seeing the hierarchy completely ignore all of the obvious telltale signs, and even still deciding, no, we're going to stick by a guy. Like, I'm going to bring you this quote by Paul Joyce in November during the Salah and Slot dispute. And he said, results will determine Slot's future, not Salah stamping his feet. So are these the results we're talking about? Because we've been awful. We're not fun to watch. And when we do win, it's by the skin of our teeth often. We barely beat Wolves, then we lost to Wolves. We barely beat Spurs away from home, then they were down to 9 men, and then we tied Spurs at home. Igor Tudor left the job having gotten 1 point in his Tottenham reign at Anfield. It is shocking that he is still in a job. And you're right, it's too late to actually change him now. You know what any good time would have been? From November all the way through to mid-March. And we've missed it. It wasn't a glance. It wasn't like a little amount of time and we go, well, we missed the... It's been a 4-month period where we could have gotten rid of him and actually made something of the season. But we're actively just watching a guy fall in stages all the way through down to May. It's just so frustrating.
I also think too it was surprising. Like, I know, like, every time you think of a Liverpool Man City game, like, even when you guys like weren't in your best form, you had a couple rough games or whatever, like, fine, like, for the most part, like, you guys those games are competitive, like, high, like, back and forth. Like, I don't remember the last time Liverpool or Man City won 3 or 4-0. I think it's been a lot of close matches. Maybe Liverpool beat Man City, I think, pretty bad, maybe one time. Maybe, I don't know, but I just feel like those games, like, you don't really hear Liverpool like losing like 4-0. I don't think,
yeah.
Like, is that the worst loss you guys have had this season? I'm trying to think. It would have to
for
be.
me, it's not the worst one, but I think it's the highest margin.
I'm just saying you don't hear that, so I'm with you on the sense of like it's, and I agree heavily on like if you're losing your away fans as well, that tells you all you need to know. And I just think, it just seems like now there's no direction besides like all you guys have now is making Final Four and like
making the top 4.
Yeah, you're 4 points behind Villa. In my opinion, your only shot is catching Villa. I don't think you're gonna catch United, and obviously City and Arsenal are gonna go at it for that top spot. But yeah, so it's Chelsea.
Chelsea are so helter skelter. Like, who knows? Because they're still in the FA Cup, so they still got that to play for. And you'll probably we're likely to see Arsenal Chelsea in that FA Cup final, if neither. Not Arsenal Chelsea, City Chelsea in that FA Cup final. We'll get into Arsenal in a sec. But just I'm frustrated. And the last thing I'll say about the frustrating aspect of it is seeing a lot of the people I interact with on Twitter that agree with me and have noticed that this has been a problem for so long, and maybe we've all acknowledged it at different stages. But you know who's acknowledged it the least, or the latest, or still hasn't acknowledged it, is the hierarchy. I have no idea how they think this guy can stay in the job. It's what is motivating them to keep him? Is it because if he finishes outside the top 4 after the spending summer we just had? Financially, what does that look like to a team who cares so much about the books and balancing it? What is that going to look like? Right? Like, I can foresee us throwing away a season worth of trying to get a trophy. That's kind of our, like, the hierarchy's never been over everything. They want to keep the cash flow going. Like, they're equity guys. Red Group is just going to want to keep churning out that engine so they can keep making more money. Totally respect it, whatever. But how has he been allowed? How is this allowed? We're awful to watch. We're an awful product on the field to watch. Genuinely. We're not fun at all. And that's the main reason I'm not getting up to watch a game that's easily watchable for me. It's my day off. I want to sleep in. I don't have that thought process about Liverpool, typically. So
I think, I was going to say, you can disagree with me on this, but I think now, since Salah's kind of said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving. This is like the last bit."
Mhm.
In my opinion, I think they're kind of like, okay, you have because he's loved around the club. The young guys are looking up to him. He's leaving. He's going out the door. It's like, okay, who are the players going to start looking up to? Obviously, there's other players like suppose you got Van Dijk, like all of that. But I think it's going to lead. In my opinion, I think they blow it up. Like Mo leaving is like a huge part of your project, right? Like that's like he's
Yeah.
won how many titles, games, scored the goals, all that stuff. So I think that's really going to blow things up a little bit and. I think Slot, yeah. If you ask me, I would say I think they're gonna let. I think at the end of the season, mutually they part ways, or maybe Slot realizes, you know what, this isn't working. But then it could go back to the same time, like, hey, I've spent all this money, I want this way, and that's another thing where I worry with you guys. Is Slot's going to be like, okay, I want this guy to replace Mo Salah, okay. I don't know who options are. He comes in, and then it's like you guys have another bad start. You're not playing well, crappy again, and you get rid of him. And then it's like, okay, well now we just brought in this star guy because he was really wanted by this manager. And then obviously I think it's Xavi who would be the next one. I don't think there's anyone else.
You know what my nightmare scenario is for going forward right now? Because I actually agree with all of that. I think a lot of players look around and see who is leading me through this. Can the club win trophies? If they say no to either of those, you're in trouble, man. You're in trouble. So my worst case scenario, which I think is actually plausible, is that they actually think that Slot needs another preseason. So they're going to give Slot exactly what he asks for in the summer. Maybe not, because they like a guy they can control. So they're going to get, based on their analytics, they'll get different guys. They're going to keep Slot in. The first 8 to 10 games next season are going to be dreadful. And then we're going to sack him like a third into the season. And we're going to go, why did you decide to waste a year? When we've seen it for so long that this team is not making any strides. At best, they're getting better results. It doesn't mean we're making strides. It doesn't mean we're better to watch. It doesn't mean we're actually establishing a way of playing. Because the reason Arsenal get by, the reason Arsenal have gone from here to here, is because they have a defined way of playing. Whether I respect it or not, they have a defined culture and way of playing. And that's how they get to that level. Huh?
6 billion euros.
6 billion euros. But again, like a lot of people spend that amount of money. Unfortunately, those big clubs do. We did. We're awful.
But so, I'm with you on like you guys got to blow it up at the end of the year, or it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I genuinely think like if you guys change it like next year, like the level and like there's going to be a lot of teams that could go for it. And yeah. I mean, obviously United. I think United need to bring in not do what they've done with. I think Carrick, he's done great, but I think it's like, okay, let's bring in a manager who's actually gonna like do this now.
Depends if you have the right. Depends if they get the right guy. Like if it's like Luis Enrique, like completely understand. Yeah. Like they can't just go to another guy that the players they have now are not suited to the new coach's style because they can't keep chopping and changing who they're getting in the transfer market based on different styles. Because then the new manager who comes in always gets this team full of guys who are not suited to his style. They chop and change. They don't stick with it for 2-3 years. He's gone. Next guy comes in, completely different style.
It's the same thing. Yeah, I know. I saw Alphonso Davies was linked with United.
It'll be nice to see Fonzie in the Premier League somewhere. It'd be nice. It's a pretty physical league, but he's athletic too.
He'll be fine. Yeah. So I guess we can now move into that lovely Arsenal game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I was so distraught.
Huh? If there's anything else about Liverpool you want to say before we go into the bottlers?
Oh no, I'm disgusted. That's my last. That's my last point about Liverpool. Yeah, Arsenal. Yeah, talk about it because that is. I'll give you credit where credit's due. I didn't think they were going to lose a game like this. I didn't. I thought they would bounce back after the City game. They held back players. From going on international duty, so they could be ready for this in the run in, and they come out with that against Southampton. And given Southampton's playing well, but they're in the league below, like you can't. You're the league leaders. You're probably the Premier League to be champions.
Kyle Larin can beat Arsenal, but he can't beat Iceland.
Kyle Larin, that's right.
It doesn't make sense. No, I mean I don't think he played like I think 30 minutes, but yeah, I don't know. Like Ben White mistake on the first goal. Off I guess a good England camp for him, considering he did score.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I genuinely think they're like now if you look because I know there was all the quadruple memes yesterday, which was kind of funny. I don't know if you saw some of them just with like because now FA Cup they're out, Carabao Cup, obviously Champions League they have an easier run I think compared to most teams and
Yeah.
the Premier League as well, and City have a game in hand as well. So City could
Yeah.
go to 64, and then they're only 6 points behind and like. Lost to Southampton, that's a big blow. I think at least for morale
And if
and
you're
mentality wise.
absolutely, and if you're an Arsenal fan, losing to Southampton is like comically PTSD for them, like comically because they're not even in the league anymore. But the last time they had this sort of lead going down the stretch of a season, and they lost it was the first year they really started challenging, right? When they still had like Rob Holding playing, like subbing in for Saliba back there. And they tied Southampton at home 3-3 in their kind of row of draws before De Bruyne just absolutely torched them in their meetup. Like it's comically PTSD because now it's that same structure, which is going to be really like Arsenal fans are going to be shaking down the stretch now, as opposed to what they should be, which is like breezing into it. They should be breezing to this title, but now you have this schedule where now you're nervous about every game. Because if you lose to Southampton, now you're nervous about every game. No matter whether you're playing Burnley at home or Chelsea away. You are worried about every game. And then you also have to go and play City. So now that structure of how they lost it that one year when Saliba got injured is the exact same schedule. The exact same structure. So it's going to be really... This kind of blows the title race a little bit more open than I thought it would be. For sure.
I mean, I think they're also a bit, I wouldn't say lucky, but I guess obviously their next match is Champions League this week. So they have that before the Premier League so they can try and figure it out. But again, like they have Bournemouth to play in the Prem. They got City to play. They have Newcastle and Fulham. So they have some tough games. And like, genuinely, they could draw points against City and like Newcastle, you never know. Newcastle is one of those teams that will... Again, like we said, inconsistency, so you never know. They could play like prime or they could be awful. But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you on it that it is. I think they could. I genuinely think City could win the league. So I genuinely think they could do it.
And I'll give you credit because I didn't think there was a single opportunity or chance there. But there is. And there's also the added element, and that is City, while chasing down this title, could get relegated. Because I keep hearing the news that they could get like a 60-point deduction. Now, I'm not giving that the benefit of the doubt.
There's no way.
Because they report that at the end of every season. But I will say, if they do find them guilty of however many charges they found them guilty of, they will get that points deduction. Because they will match up with Everton's. And they have far more to answer to than Chelsea does. With this sort of fugazi, like, hey, you're gonna get a transfer ban, but you can buy people this summer if you like. In fact, you can buy them whenever you like. Like it's dumb the rules how they're applied throughout, but there's so much for City to answer to. So I don't know how they could just. What are they gonna give them 8 transfer bans? Like it's not gonna.
No, I don't. City may lose Rodri in the summer too, so.
I've heard that, and I think a lot of like Bernardo, I don't think stays. It's kind of
he's gone. He announced he's leaving at the end of the season.
So Bernardo's gone. Rodri could be gone. This could be the last, and I don't believe Pep stays. If this is the case where they get a bunch of deductions or transfer bans, there's no reason for Pep to stay. There is actually a reason for Pep to go and play and coach a national team, for instance, because I think he's out of clubs of that size to keep managing.
Well, yeah, I think he's won everything except the Euros and the World Cup. So, but again, like I'm trying to think. I don't even know where he would go though.
Because I know go to Italy.
He
could go to Italy. He's never coached in Italy, and honestly, I know Italy's a little bit of a retirement home, but he could just go to the biggest club out there and just start up a dynasty in Italy and see what he can do in the Champions League. That's another option, but I do think. For some reason, I could see 5 years down the line, Klopp managing Germany and Pep managing either Spain, but although Luis De La Fuente is doing great, or someone else like Brazil or
I think Pep said or whatever was City. Whenever Pep goes, it'll either be company or I'm blanking out. The Chelsea manager who just got fired.
I know who you're talking about. Maresca.
I think I may have bottled this name, but I think I've heard that as well. I don't know. I think with company, I guess it makes sense. He knows the club, but also just like the caliber of players he already has at Bayern and what they're doing there. If I were him, I would be staying there.
I could see Maresca. I could absolutely see Maresca. I think that would be a decent hire, and I think Chelsea's a bit of a dumpster fire in terms of trusting managers. I think he's a decent manager.
They've spoken out. A lot of the players have been speaking out about how they felt after him. I don't know if you just saw, but Enzo Fernandez, he got banned for 2 games about making like a comment. He's like, "Oh, I would live in Madrid." That's pretty much what he said, and they were like,
"Oh yeah."
Why? And then they Chelsea banned him or whatever for 2 games, and it was just I don't know. This new manager hasn't. I mean, they beat Port Vale 7-0 yesterday, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's funny what players will say, right? After they sign especially with Chelsea's case, because Enzo Fernandez, I'm being a little extra. He's on a 17-year contract at Chelsea Football Club. They signed him for 8 or 9 years.
Yeah,
it's way longer than anyone. Yes,
and he wants more money.
He signed that a while ago. Now he wants more money, and you are not allowed to make demands when you sign 8 or 9 year contracts. That is a suspiciously long contract, and it locks you in, which means you're stuck there. Whether you like it or not, you're stuck.
Mudrik's going to be back. They have to pay him till when is that? Yeah, I think it's something similar like that as well.
Yeah,
because I think he was linked with Arsenal. Yeah, and then Arsenal didn't want to pay, or Shakhtar wanted a crazy amount of money for him.
Yeah,
I think it was something along those lines. But yeah, I think Fernandez maybe one of the captains too.
Huh?
Him and Reese are the captains. I think. I don't know. But I understand getting more money and all of that, but I'm with you in the sense of you signed that contract, you knew what you were getting into, but it's also at the same time I don't like when players are on a club and they're like, oh yeah, my dream is to play for Real Madrid, Barcelona. If you think about it, any professional player, your goal is to get to the best teams, without a doubt.
But don't say it. Don't say it when you're under contract.
Rodri's kind of made some comments about Real Madrid as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But again, and it's also what we read. We don't actually see the full context of what's happening or what the comment is in the interview. Because literally a player they could ask, "Do you ever see yourself playing for Real Madrid?" He's like, "Well, I don't know if I could see myself playing for Real Madrid, but maybe in the future, or when I was a kid, I thought about playing for Real Madrid." And then they just take specific quotes. But
it's true. That is true. These guys are human, right? They're not robots, and they're going to answer kind of questions that are maybe propped up for them to get caught on something and just have a select quote taken out of it. It's not everything's like that Leonard Carl one from Bayern where he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to play for Real Madrid. If Real Madrid came in for me, I'd go tomorrow." That was basically the quote. And you're like, "Dude,
yeah."
You're 17.
Honestly, though, I didn't really wasn't too upset because he signed an extension. Pretty much right away. And then company just said that he came in and he apologized to everybody and he owned up to it and he just got caught up in the moment and there's that's fine. That's how you handle it. Don't need to blow it up.
And he's a kid. He's literally a kid. He's 17 years old. You know what dumb stuff I said at 17 years old? Oh my god.
Yeah,
I'd get caught up with that.
You got to remember too, all these guys are under the microscope all the time.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't amen. But no. Yeah, Man City to win the league. Here,
that would be something.
We'll be back. I'm going to come back to this clip at the end of the season when City are lifting the title again, and there's going to be that new meme of the Arsenal champions banner behind of them. Remember that?
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. We'll bring that.
Yeah.
We'll bring that back out. That was seen at Anfield. The last thing I'm going to mention, actually, because it's one of my favorite tweets, was the guy who got absolutely flamed. I think it's West Ham Central, who said, watch as Declan Rice wins the last professional trophy of his career. And everyone flamed him because he just moved to Arsenal, and it's still somehow true.
I know.
Through all of this coming close, and I really don't know how Arsenal can stay at it if they finish second again. This would be by far the worst one, and in conjunction with all the others, it would just be demoralizing. I don't even know how the club can't fold at that point. It's so demoralizing.
I will say though, the loss for Southampton yesterday may kind of be like a wake up call a little bit in the sense that now they don't only have two competitions to worry about. That's
Mhm.
like the one. That's like my one thing. Arteta's also been in this position now, and a lot of these players have been in this position now where the pressure is really on. So it'll be interesting to see. I still believe like the odds are higher that Arsenal
Yeah.
will go on to win it. But again, you never know. You never know. And
Yeah.
if you think about it, so far, like the league should be down. Like they should be farther ahead, to be honest with you. But then there's also the argument of City, the games that they bought. City could be past them as well right now. But
Yeah.
I think what will be interesting is if Arsenal do lose to Bournemouth, or
Mhm.
no, sorry, Arsenal. Yeah, let's just say Arsenal lose to Bournemouth. City have a game in hand. City, I think there's a chance to be 4 points behind them going into the matchup when they play each other.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or it'll be 4 or 7. Yeah, it could be 4 or 7 or 6.
Because City have the
and
game
then-
in hand, right?
Yeah, they have the game in hand. So let's just say Arsenal do lose to Bournemouth, and City win their game, like their 2 extra game in hands, and I think City could like go 1 point behind them if they do.
Man.
Yeah, and it could go down. It's like relegation. I think relegation goes down to the last. Tottenham, good signing, I guess, for their coach. But
Probably. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough to actually guess which. Like, there's probably not a better option in the market that is plausible for them that would actually take that job. So it's a good signing. If I had to put money on it, I still think Arsenal's going to win this league because their way of playing is much more suited to playing the lower down teams who are not going to create much. But again, like everything gets so tight down the stretch in crunch time, and if you're not creating enough and you're just trying to keep them from creating enough, we could see a lot more draws than we're used to, and that could just pull City right back into it if they can string together the wins necessary, because I think they'd have to win out.
yeah,
Personally, I think they'd have to win out.
no, City got to win every game. But like if you look, like Arsenal, like it's City and Newcastle. Like they got Palace, Burnley, West Ham, and Fulham to finish off the season. So again, they should win.
There's a
those
couple
games.
tough ones in there, right? And anything can happen.
Yeah, West
But
Ham
if I had to
United.
put money on it, I think Arsenal win the league. But I think this cup run that they're on, where they're not creating enough, and as we saw in that Everton game like 3 weeks ago, like they can squeeze it out when they're not playing well, but it doesn't mean that like it could get worse in terms of the performances is what I'm saying. And they can still eke out those results in the league, but in the Champions League where teams are just going to keep fighting to the like they could go out to Sporting. I could see it happening. I don't think they're necessarily
Imagine
I don't
they
I,
go
I
out to
don't
sport.
I don't think they will, but I think now more than ever they look like they could go out to Sporting. And the next team they face, which is probably Barcelona, I don't know. They could eke into there, but I'd actually bet it more on like Arsenal winning the league and going out earlier in the Champions League than we previously probably would have imagined with their
I
schedule.
think it's Barca Bayern. That's my guess.
You think Barca Bayern? I think Bayern's the strongest, but again, like you can't bet against
It's
Real
so up in the
Madrid's
air,
dark
but-
magic.
Yeah,
Real Madrid got some black magic going on at that club, man. They could play as poorly as they possibly want in the league. They just lost to Mallorca, and they're gonna go in the Champions League, and then they may come out with a result like the City one, where you're like,
yeah.
where did this come from?
I think Barca are going to win La Liga for sure. At this point, I think it's 6 ahead now, 6 or 7. I actually think it's 7.
I don't think Real Madrid's consistent enough to actually catch them back. Personally,
No, but I was going to say we have like Chelsea, Man City next weekend, so that's like I think the next Premier League games are both must-win games. I would say, obviously, City have the game in hand. But yeah, I don't know. But City, it's literally Chelsea and Arsenal back to back. Those are their next few games.
Jesus Christ.
And then even though like to end off the season for them, like they got Burnley, Everton, Brentford, Bournemouth, and then they finished with Villa.
Yeah,
that
that's a
title
tough
season-
schedule.
Yeah, I remember when because it was Aston Villa. They went 2-0 down in the last game of the season.
Oh, don't remind me. I remember that game. I remember that one.
Yeah.
The Coutinho game. Coutinho scored, and we're like, oh, God, we could actually win the league. And then Gundogan just scored 3 straight. And we're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was fun while it lasted. Won the league there for like 10 minutes. That was a crazy finish, though.
Arsenal still didn't win though.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything to add. Is there any closing remarks you want to make about the weekend's games or?
West Ham win today, please.
I know they play in 20 minutes. They literally play in 20 minutes.
FA Cup. I'll take a FA Cup win in relegation.
Oh, another thing. I forgot. Millwall's up to second in the champ.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Millwall's up to second. Oh no.
You want to see dark magic? That's dark magic.
Yeah.
Do you know how Twitter will be the worst place on earth if we go down and Millwall go up?
I'd see some Millwall accounts I've never seen before tweeting at West Ham accounts. Genuinely, that would be it would be a real shame to see one go up and one go down.
Waiting for this for years. I know they without a doubt, and unfortunately, how it's looking right now, there's a higher probability that we go down than Spurs. So we gotta. Yeah, I don't know. We need Somerville back. I actually think he may be back today. He may be
good.
Back.
That's good.
I feel bad for him because he hit a good run of form and then injury, but yeah. So
you guys are gonna need him.
He's gone after this season, so I don't.
Yeah, well, hopefully he gets you guys a parting gift, and you can spend those funds realistically on the next guy, right? Because it's all about staying up now.
West Ham win, and then Liverpool announced slots out today. That'd be an ideal day for.
I need the
club statement.
I need the club statement with the corner flag so bad. I need it. Yeah. That's the only thing that I actually will get excited for. I can score a goal and my face will stay like this. But until the club statement comes out, that my face stays completely normal. I don't even celebrate the goals anymore. I'm like, oh, cool, scored.
Yeah. What I think I do want to talk about next week, though, could think about it during the week, is who you think should replace Salah. Or some good options in the market. I know it's tough right now, but even just based off of all of that, who you think would be a good fit?
Absolutely.
You guys spend another $150 million. Must be nice.
I don't even want to be those guys either.
You're up there with City and Arsenal now. I think, in my opinion, I would say in Chelsea for where you guys you have to overpay for players. I think I would say you four for sure. Villa not so much. Chelsea just because they're just annoying. But yeah, I'm interested to see who you have. I'll get some players too, and then I want you to let me know who you think would be a fit.
Absolutely. That's I hate being the guys who spend that much money now, but we're just there now.
Love it deep down.
We've done 10 years of financial kind of intelligent moves, and now we're just spaffing all this money, and it's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about who's going to replace Salah.
It'll be good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks guys for tuning into the third podcast, and we will see you next week.